Good morning for some, good evening for others all over the world. Mark Allen Grollo here. Hope you're doing great. If you can join me live, well, I'm gonna just waste a bit of time here. It's 2:29. I'm a bit early, so for the benefit of those who are trickling in, want to join live, for the benefit of those watching the replay, I'll just noodle around here and waste a few minutes with anyone who's joining. Got my big cup of Earl Grey decaf because I don't want to be up all night. Yes, I am. I am so wired in the sense of my biology that even some black tea in the afternoon will keep me up all evening, all night. Not even. I mean, I do want to be awake in the evening, ideally. If you are live here, I'm going to hop over to the chat. Let me know where you're tuning in from. I love saying hi to you and wherever you are. I think I'm figuring out this software that I bought late last week for the Black Friday Pro launch event special weekend here. This is my third time on it. I think I'm starting to figure it out. To those of you who are joining live, thank you so much. Good to see you. And I am up for any and all questions as well. So feel free to chime in. Let me know you're here. Say hi. Many of you have purchased Unboring Wedding Pro this weekend. We got about 50 new members. So I'm so thrilled to welcome all of the new Pro members, as well as folks who have purchased Unboring Wedding Academy, my first and flagship course. Hello again, happy signing notary from Atlanta. And tuning in from Middletown, New York. Nice to see New York in the house as well. Hey, Alex, good to see you. Yeah, just let me know where you're from, and if you have a weird name as a handle, let me know your first name if you're comfortable chiming in and letting us know. Or else I will just continue to call you as told by Ope and happy signing notary if you've got a question or anything like that. Hey, Alex in Hollywood, good to see you. All right, so today I just wanted to come on here because, of course, this is the Pro launch weekend. Yes, on Black Friday / Cyber Monday, we do include Monday as part of the weekend. I know if you're at work today, certainly doesn't feel like it. I got my kids up and off to school and all that good stuff. So it doesn't feel like a weekend. I get that. Facebook user has a question. The very personal name, Facebook user. So some of you are coming in from various places on Facebook. Some are coming in from YouTube. So depending on how you're logged in and stuff like that, I'm just getting some of your handles that the system is grabbing. I think. Hey, okay, Lee. Yeah, I know you, Lee. Good to see you. Thanks for identifying yourself. Okay, Opie. Sorry. I bombed a 3-letter name. Really? Although my daughter's name is Oka, which is an unusual name, and she already hears all kinds of things. And as parents of somebody who named their child OKA, you just kind of think that's not something you can really mess up, is it? But it happens. So I'm sorry, Opie. Thank you for correcting me. And everybody who ever purchases Unboring Wedding Academy, I shoot them a bonjoro. I say, I'm so thrilled you're in the course. A little personal video, as those of you who have purchased the course know. Man, I'm sure I've butchered a few names in there. So Lee, if you have a question, you can shoot. I'm going to wait a couple more minutes before I just start in on what we're here to talk about, which is the 7 things you need to go pro, 7 things you need to have in place. Question is, what are your recommendations for someone who's never done a wedding before when trying to get started? Obviously, I have no recommendations. Okay, so what are your recommendations for someone who has never done a wedding before when trying to get started? Okay, so you mean in business. I see. Yeah, I mean, you can follow the systems that I recommend. Obviously, in Unboring Wedding Pro, it might be a slower start the thing about the Unboring Wedding Pro course that I offer is, of course, everyone who gets that has purchased Unboring Wedding Academy. And anybody who's purchased Unboring Wedding Academy generally has been asked by a friend or family member or something like that. Some people are thinking of going pro. So this is a very long answer, because essentially I would have to say go through the steps of the pro course because I really believe, and we'll talk about this today. So Lee, I think if you're here and you're able to stick around for the live or catch the replay, this will be a recording. I wasn't so sure Friday, but now I know it can be a recording, and it will be up on Facebook and YouTube as a recording. I'll make it available. I want to talk through the 7 steps of how to get things in place to launch. Obviously, getting a review and photos of you in action are key to getting the ball rolling. The first place I would start, obviously, Lee, is your own network. So many of us know people who are getting married. It doesn't take very long for somebody in your network of friends, of relatives, to have a wedding come up. Whether it's a second wedding, somebody more our age, or first wedding, or kids, people in their early 20s. And if you make it really well known that you are trained and ready to go, I think people are kind of reluctant to put somebody up there who is a newbie and is a first-time officiant. Although, you know what? I retract that, because the latest statistics are saying about half of all weddings, and don't panic if you do want to go pro, because there are something like 2 million weddings happening in the United States. So there are plenty of weddings to go around. But that said, half of those are having friends and family officiate. There really isn't a reticence around throwing somebody up there and seeing if they can swim. So Lee, I would say if you are trained, I believe you have Unboring Wedding Academy. And if you put it out there and just start in your own network, you could do that. But also, the method that I teach, especially in stage 6, of going to wedding shows, networking with vendors. I would be very upfront with vendors and go around and saying, look, I've gotten this training. In Australia, so many of celebrants I know, they have to take a training course. It's quite rigorous in Australia for some reason. They have to all get, it's like going to get your driver's license. And a lot of them don't start. They do that, and then they don't have any weddings on the docket, so to speak, and they have to start from scratch. So that's where you want to, I think, very unabashedly go out there and start networking with vendors and venues. And I teach this little strategy in the course. We're getting off book, but Lee, don't get me started. You have already. Go to venues and go to vendors, and just be honest. And you could say, and I think this honesty is refreshing, I don't have a wedding yet. I do have extensive training, and that's where Unboring Wedding Pro, comes in really handy. And of course, Unboring Wedding Academy. But you could say, I want to recommend you to clients as I get started. If you talk about wanting to grow your practice, but recommending planners, recommending DJs, recommending venues. So you don't go to them saying, please refer me, please refer me, please. It's the opposite. You meet with venues and vendors and you say, listen, I am just getting started. I don't even have a wedding yet. How can I help you? Oh my gosh, that goes such a long way. So that's part of the hacks that I teach in stage 6 of the pro course. Yesterday, I went to a wedding show myself, as I did a little Instagram live, not a live, I went on stories, shot myself in the car live, waiting for the ferry to come across the river to take me to the apple orchard, the cidery venue. And it was an amazing time. So I'm still going around networking, going to wedding shows. Did I make any bookings on the spot? No, mostly because my 2022 is booked solid. I did make some good connections with potential couples who might want to book me for 2023. But it was the vendors, man. That's where you're connecting with vendors. And I kind of make a little game with myself. How many business cards can I get around the room? You don't want to be intrusive, obviously, because they're talking to couples. But there are lulls in the show. You make your way over to a table and you kind of say, hey, what do you do? Tell me about your business. And you kind of act almost like somebody who's attending the show. People love that kind of thing. Okay. So let me check back in, because I do want to maybe get to, if people are tuning in to hear what the 7 things are, and maybe get a look at the pro course, because I do want to give you another sneak peek inside. Then I will tackle any and all questions. I see Happy Signing Notary has something as well. But to honor people who are showing up live here 10 minutes in, I won't get off until I do my best to answer all questions. And again, if you asked a question and have to pop off, catch it in the replay for sure. But I do want to tackle right off the bat the 7 things that I believe you need in place. So Lee, this is sort of an answer to your question, as is the entire pro course, I guess, in some sense, of the things that you need in place to really get some traction and get couples to land and explore you, whether it's website, in person, and sit down with you and get an impression of you in your conversation over a coffee or a drink live, and decide, yes, we want to go with you. All right, there we go. My Earl Grey is going to clear up the little tickle in my throat. All right, so let me share with you inside Unboring Wedding Pro here. I'm going to flip over to this tab. Inside the course, you get all the videos and things like that. That's over in the training session. But inside the resources and bonuses, this is kind of a two for one, 2 birds with 1 stone, as grisly as that analogy is. To take a look inside the course, I did do a demo of the course website last week, but we didn't get into the resources and bonuses. So I just want to show you what's waiting for you inside the course. I got 9 listed here so far. A lot of time I'm adding to it. Unboring Wedding Academy launched with, I think, 6 bonuses, then became 10. Now it's 12. I just keep creating things and throwing them on here. Anything to help you do the job easier. So as part of the course, you're going to see the email templates, any corresponding you need to do with couples and vendors. Lee, I'm just going to keep saying your name now. You're like the stand-in for the person I'm talking to. So I talk about how to reach out to vendors and say, can I come out and check your venue? Can we sit down for coffee? That is literally inside the pro templates here. I can't show you everything because we'd be on here for an hour, unless you specifically ask at the end. The contract template is something here for you to fill out. And of course, you need a contract. We'll talk about that. I've got all the slides in the course. They're all here for you to download or take a look at, just so you feel like you're tracking along. Any slide that I show in a video, it's all here as a PDF file. The client journey, this is the stages that, just for you to think, well, what's the client experience of me? You'll see a roadmap of kind of plotting along with the client. This needs to happen, then this, then this, then this. The pro learning roadmap is everything, all the concepts you need to learn. So you just feel like, again, have I missed anything? It's like checking in on yourself as you go through the stages of Unboring Wedding Pro. Am I learning this stuff? Or when I read this, does it look like a total mystery to me? It shouldn't if you're following along, or if you want to stop and pause somewhere in the process and pick it up later, just for you to check in with yourself. It really is the certified checklist here and the challenges checklist that I want to show you. Of course, down here I have the free Canva account, because you will need Canva for the branding stuff that I teach. And of course, the pro Facebook group. If you're in Unboring Wedding Academy, I really like keeping that to ceremony related stuff, one-off friend and relatives, folks like that who grab the course. I don't want it kind of muddied up with business stuff and contracts. The pro Facebook group is where you will go. If you're a member of both courses, you'll have access to both groups. But the pro group is more for the businessy stuff. What do you think of this logo? What do you think of this brand? Or what's your strategy for this and that? Okay, so I just want to show you here the challenges checklist that we're going to go through that make up the 7 things. I brought you here to talk about the 7 things that you need in place. Here is the challenges. I mentioned this in last week's video. The challenges that every stage you are going to achieve and accomplish, because I just believe in action. This is not theory. At the end of this course, you are going to have things, ingredients, pieces in place to let you go out and launch your own pro business. So at the end of stage 1, You're going to create a rack card in Canva. Some of you are feeling a cold sweat from the word rack card. Some of you from Canva, some of you from both. So you're completely unplugged already, which is why I take, the span of an hour and a half of training videos here, plus a full demo, screen flows of how to use Canva and demystify. Of course, some of you are like, I love Canva. I do too, absolutely. Create a rack card. There's a whole philosophy around why you should have a rack card. It's because a rack card speaks for itself when you're not there to represent yourself. In stage 2, you're going to learn how to write like a copywriter. And so there's a couple of things where you want to show that kind of Ray Edwards is a copywriting guru. You want to show what I teach you about that stuff on your rack card. You want to email a couple asking for a review. And so Lisa, that's where this course kind of assumes that you have done a ceremony or two already. If not, then you just know, okay, this is TBD. In order to have a successful business, you really need your reviews and photos out there. But you got to start somehow, which is why I would say start with your own network and also reach out to professionals and say, I'm a noob. How can I help you? How can I refer you? Is there anything I can do for you? Stage 3, you're going to choose a website builder. You're going to design your hero section. We talk all about the philosophy of the website. Some of you came in on Friday, Grad Pro on Friday, which means you get a website for free in January when I launched that service. Those of you who missed it, don't worry. I will be making that package available in January, February. And so we talk all about that here, how to choose a website builder and how to build your website. I don't want to just say, get a website. There's a specific way that it should look. And of course, I did a video on that over the weekend. In stage 4, you're going to choose your package pricing structure. I did a bit of a live about this last week. What to think about for prices for your offerings. You're going to create an inquiry page and a forum on your website. You're going to insert reviews on photos on your website because people will have replied to the emails you sent in stage 2. And then in stage 5, you're going to practice your spiel. I talk all about prepping for your chemistry check with a couple. Once they reach out to you, after you've done the things in the first 4 stages, you're ready to kind of hang your shingle out there. But I say, well, before you do, complete the full thing before you do, so you're 100% ready. But after 4, you're good to receive inquiries. And I don't want you freaking out when you do. I mean, I remember what it was like to go out on my own, launch a practice, and get that first cold inquiry from a couple. You're like, oh my gosh, it's happening. What do I do? So I don't want you to feel that panic. I want you to know you're cool, you're calm, you're collected, you're in control. And that is how I want you going into the chemistry check with a couple. You get a huge closing rate with a couple when they meet you for a drink somewhere that you choose preferably, and you know how to pitch yourself. You have a contract ready. You know how you accept payment because they're going to ask you, and you don't want to be like, I don't know. So whether it's Venmo or Stripe, a proper credit card processor, some people only take cash. I'll leave that to you, but you want to think through the pros and cons of everything, and we go through that in the course. And then stage 6, this is really the secret sauce of not doing all that and then sitting there and waiting for the proverbial phone to ring. You are going to get out there and talk to vendors. And so this is where I say the challenge for yourself is reach out to 3 local vendors, go to a local wedding vendor group or wedding show. I'm thinking Chamber of Commerce type stuff. Usually every town or municipality has a professional group you can join, even if it's not wedding related. And of course, you want to create your listing on Google My Business. So that was a little sneak peek into I just realized I wasn't sharing that tab. I wonder if some of you were trying to tell me that. So as I click this next one, because I clicked on that resource and I was reading off that, I want to show you this next tab that I'm opening. So let me stop sharing this one and switch over so that you can actually see what I'm talking about in the next slide. I saw a great TikTok of somebody making fun of this moment. It said everybody sharing their screen over Zoom, and it was exactly what I'm doing now. Okay, let me see here. And I'm doing that right now. Okay, now you can see this. This is the 7 things, and you will this will be familiar if you stuck with me for the stages, kind of walking through the stages that I just showed you. I want to check in and see what you're seeing. Great. So here's the 7 things you need. And this is also what it takes to be Unboring Weddings certified. So the challenges I just described to you, that's something for you to do as you move through the course. I assume if you get Unboring Wedding Pro, you want to go pro. And I do say it takes work. It takes doing the steps. That's why I try to make it as clear and simple to do. My training makes it as easy as possible, hopefully. And so once you do those challenges, essentially it's about showing me the 7 things that I really believe you need to start your officiant or celebrancy practice. The first one is, I would like to see a photo of your rack card. So what you need is a rack card. Now, my whole philosophy around that, as I mentioned very briefly before, this is the first challenge of stage 1 of Unboring Wedding Pro, is to create one in Canva. So in Canva stage 1, we talk in Unboring Wedding Pro stage 1, we talk all about branding philosophy. It's simpler than you think, so don't freak out. You think, oh, isn't that just for graphic designers? I know my graphic designer friends, and I do have a few, would say, yes, it is. Stick to your lane. That said, I had no money to pay a graphic designer when I started, so I just, looked at shapes, chose a pink colored star, looked at fonts, slapped the word Unboring across it at an angle with an exclamation point, and I was able to get going. And now we're coming up on my 5-year solo journey. I had officiated for 5 years before that, but now coming up on 5 years of just my own practice, starting from scratch, I would say it worked out pretty well. So you want to start scrappy like that? We talk about the branding stuff. And so you want to create a rack card from this that you take around to venues and vendors in stage 6. And the reason why I say I want to see a photo of that is because I don't want you to just design it on Canva, tooling around, and then never actually click print. This is why I love Canva, is you can get it printed by Canva. I've done this, and they send it to you, and you have it in your hands, and you're ready to take it around. I don't even know. Do I have any here? I might have some in my desk. I don't know. This is very unprofessional to be rummaging around on my desk live. I don't have any immediately with me. And I did bring some to the wedding show yesterday. So a rack card has more information than a business card. And in this training, stage 2, where you write like a copywriter, I teach you what to write on a rack card and how to write it. Because when a venue coordinator or a venue owner is recommending to you, a couple comes and the couple says, well, do you have any other vendors you can recommend? Photographers, officiants, florists. Venue owners love recommending that. Wedding planners love recommending that. You want to be in that pack, and you don't want it to be a business card. Call this person as just your name and a brand name. You want something that reflects your services and gives your personality a little bit more. And I just always use the analogy of when you're on vacation, you go to a hotel lobby and you see that huge case of rack cards full of all the adventures you can do, from skiing to zip lining to spas, and business cards wouldn't cut it. They are all kind of scrambling for your attention and your dollar. And so in a way, the best rack card wins, especially when the kids are attracted to one and grab one. Can we go to this dinosaur park? And you're like, oh, well done, rack card creator. I did not want to go to that, but the kids want to now. So that is what an effective rack card can do. You flip it over and it talks a bit more about you. That is the first thing that I want to see. And the first thing that I think you need in order to start successfully networking. Get out from behind your computer, go around. Don't shove these into vendors' hands. Ask them if you can help them, how you can recommend them. And then if perchance they were to recommend you, you say, here's one. Typically they ask for a few more. And you need to start planting the seeds long-term of a business relationship. You don't want to feel the panic right off the bat and smell of desperation and say, take my 50 business cards. Nobody really wants that. As you start spreading those around, your business will grow, especially if you complete the next 6. We're only at number 1. Number 2, link to Google My Business listing. If you are not on Google My Business, you need to be on Google My Business, because even if you have a website, which as you can see is number 4, it's going to take a while for your website to go through the SEO, search engine optimization process of Google, and get all the spiders crawling on your website and finding the keywords and ranking you up in your area. So that'll take a while. The way to fast track it is to do a Google My Business listing, and that way when local couples Google such and such wedding officiant or wedding officiants, and there's like 10 listings, 10 other people in Google My Business, I mean, that puts you in the top 10 if you've got a Google My Business listing. So you're not depending on SEO necessarily. You go through the proper steps of Google My Business, and that rockets you right to the top. So this is true of any business. If you're starting a bakery and you're brand new, you put a Google My Business listing up. They do send you a physical postcard in the mail to a physical address with a code on it that you need to receive and type in to make your listing active. So that is one aspect of Google My Business that they do. So it'll take like a week to get that going. But once you have that up, it's a way to help yourself rise to the top much quicker. So that's another key piece. And I do talk about specifically how to do that in stage 6 of the course with screen flows, very specifically the best practices to getting your Google My Business listing up there. 3, I want to see a copy of your contract and your agreement. And again, we go over this, of course, in Unboring Wedding Pro. I provide a template you saw in the resources. That is all right there. But you can't go into, I would just advise never officiate a wedding if it's not for a friend or relative without a contract or an agreement. And I know it's something we like to say, oh, I like to keep it all feeling good and stuff like that. And that's not to say that this is going to go bad. For me, that's why I call it the agreement. And even when I present it to a couple in my email, my payment page, because I have them go through a credit card processor, I say, this is to make sure your expectations and my expectations are in alignment. That is not unreasonable to say, this is an agreement that is about our expectations and making sure we know what those are. So, for example, as part of my agreement, I get this question a lot. Mark, do you ask the couple for permission before you share photos of them or their story or anything on social media? That's part of the contract. It's very clearly marked media release in one of the easy to read. You'll see it if you get the course. It's right there. And as part of the agreement, when they sign it, they agree that I can use their picture, their video, their story, anything. They've already agreed to it. So you don't need to go back chasing down every couple saying, can I use this great picture? Can I tell your story? Can I talk about you? Can I post this selfie that we took together? Whatever. They've already agreed to that. So that's just an example. It's just so much more convenient, and it's about expectations. You don't need to make it draconian or say, oh, it's really weird. It's not. It's just saying, let's put in print what my role is and what your role is. Okay. Number 4, I want to see a link to your pro website. And really, I just think you need a website to be professional. It's going to be a lot harder to get started, especially on Google My Business. I don't know about you, but when I'm looking on Google My Business for services, I look for the website. Doesn't matter if it's a plumber or a Chinese restaurant or what. I want to see a website, even if it's very simple. It just is a place to showcase your work and be in control of how that content is presented. So, of course, that said, when you're in control of your content, you want to have a photo of you officiating a wedding. You need to ask a photographer for that and ask for permission to share that. If you go to unboringwedding.com, you will see that I put up a lot of photos of me officiating, and I actually have the name and link of each photographer that took those pictures right there on my website. They love that. They're typically very happy to share and more eager to share when you're also promoting their incredible work. And so you want to get a photo of you officiating. It's just that whole street cred thing when somebody lands, oh, wow, look at that. They're officiating for a couple. I have been asked, can you fake this photo? Look at all these photos behind me. Would you know if they were real or not? I guess you wouldn't. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Some of these photos, most of them, 99% of them, are real. A couple of them are one of them is from a staged shoot, which I got invited to do, a styled shoot where, they get all dressed up and it's a florist and they try to sell that to a magazine and stuff like that. Okay, I will leave that to you. We don't want to be unethical in anything we do, but a photo of you in that role is huge. Know what I'm saying, Lee? All right, Lee, if you're still here. A positive review from a couple, this goes a really long way. It's helpful if people review you on a third-party platform like Google My Business or Facebook or things like that. And I do talk about following up with a couple after you do a wedding. You follow up with them a few days later. I loved working with you. It was amazing. Here's the link where you can leave a review. Make it super easy for them. And so ideally, they will review somewhere, a third party site. That's what you want to ask. But then I would recommend copying that, like going in, copying and pasting. My website, I have all my reviews on Wedding Wire, or a lot of them, and others on Google My Business, others on Facebook, sometimes a couple triple posts. But I try to aggregate all those on unboringwedding.com at the end of the season and paste them on my websites so people can see and then verify if they go to other websites. Okay, Mark didn't make this up. We never want to invent a review. That said, you can ask vendors for reviews as well after you work with them. It's great if a couple says, oh, this photographer, who happens to be my photographer, loves working with Laura the officiant. So, okay, that makes us think that maybe we want to get Laura, that kind of thing. So get reviews wherever you can take them and put them on your website. That really helps a couple nudge them in the direction of wanting to work with you. And finally, you need an inquiry form that a couple can fill out and send. Again, this is all in the interest of making this process as frictionless as possible. I'm in the e-commerce space, of course, selling courses and things like that. And so it's very effective to make the purchasing process frictionless. And that is the same of the inquiry process. You don't necessarily want a couple having to just figure out how to contact you, or a generic contact me form, and then they don't know what information to put. And so in the course, I talk about how to build a very specific inquiry page, which has all the information you need to make an informed choice about when their wedding is, what time it is, etc., etc. And I can show you some of that stuff on my website, Unboring Wedding Academy, unboringwedding.com right now under the booking of me site. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing that and go over back here. See if I'm missing anything in the comments, any action. Feel free to ask a question after having said that. Those are the 7 things that I really believe you need in place to launch. And of course, Unboring Wedding Pro has a series of challenges, and those challenges will help you accomplish those 7 pieces. So it's a bit of a funnel in the sense of you're going to get the training, you're going to get put the things in place. Once you get those pieces in place, then you have your rack card. But in order to have your rack card, you needed to learn how to do some graphic design, how to write like a copywriter, so it's really great. And then you have your rack card, et cetera, et cetera. Same thing with website, same thing with contracts. It's these pieces coming together. Once you have those 7 things in hand, physically or digitally, in the world, you are ready to launch. Okay, so I want to just take you briefly inside now. I'm going to do that thing again. Let me share. Let me share unboringwedding.com. I want to show you. I want you to meet other members. If you're inside Unboring Wedding Academy, these are probably very familiar faces to you. Other members who came through the live with me last year and received their Unboring Wedding certified officiant or certified celebrant designation. So if and when you complete Unboring Wedding Pro and get all those 7 things into me to look at, I am happy to give you my stamp, my seal of approval, my endorsement, my sponsorship, whatever that means, whatever words you want to use there, because I do know that again, all in the interest of launching you. Sometimes being able to point to somebody and say, look, I'm certified. I went through this training. You can go to unboringwedding.com/certified, send people there, hot link this on your website. And that's why, just very briefly at the top, I want couples to land here and get a really clear and quick understanding of what it means. It means all officiants and celebrants certified with Unboring Wedding are experienced, and that can just mean one wedding. So Lee, get that one wedding in for a cousin or something, and and get the photo, get the review. That gives you experience plus the training. I really believe we're not scamming anybody. I mean, I believe if you're trained in this system, you're already miles ahead of somebody maybe who has 20 weddings, and they are, just pulling weddings off the shelf or out of a can or something like that. There are a lot of hot mess officiant and celebrants out there, unfortunately, just making it up as they go along. Hey, all the power to them. But that is just not that's not my system, and that's not what I recommend. And so I know that, having taken the first course, you are totally organized and you blow people away, guaranteed, after just one wedding. So that's why I'm so confident once you get that first one in, you do it the Unboring Wedding way. Guests and vendors and everyone's going to be like, that was incredible. It happens so fast, how the word spreads about you. Okay. So your experience, you successfully completed the 20 hours of training and the best practices. So I say 20 there because Unboring Wedding Academy is about 10 and Unboring Wedding Pro is about 10. And you adhere to the certified Unboring Wedding standard of conduct. When you complete those 7 things and send them to me, and I say you've got all 7 things, I send you, again, an agreement about expectations, and that is all right here. So they can click on that and see what that is. Collegiality, adherence, honesty, professionalism, privacy, legality, and the representation of the certification and what that means. I want it to really mean something, okay? So that's what that looks like. And here's I believe we're up to 11 members right now. These are the folks all over the world who came in and did Unboring Wedding Pro live with me last year over Zoom when we were all in lockdown. I did 2 rounds of it. It came out of me doing an Unboring Academy live. This is back when it was called Unboring Officiant. And I did that live, and then the members of that course said, well, how do we do the business side? And I said, well, I don't talk about that. And they said, well, you better talk about it because you do it, obviously, and we want to know all your tips and tricks. So I reluctantly did it. I think 40 people joined the first round and about 15 or 20 the second round. And so these are the folks who have taken the time. Others are still moving through it. COVID, shut down a lot of weddings and things. But we've got Jen in Adelaide, Lori Becker in Alberta, Casey in the Finger Lake region of New York, Reverend Claudia, Kick-Ass Weddings in Hamilton, Ben in Eastern North Dakota. We have Jason in the Delaware, the tri-state area. Reverend Jane in North Carolina, and Landis in Florida, a notary as well as an officiant. Keith in Indiana, Dayton, Cincinnati, Ohio, Xavier in Puerto Rico, Andy in the greater Savannah region. And so I put them on here. I put their website up here, and I know they send potential customers here, potential clients who want to work with them. And of course, I also send you this badge in a couple of different color schemes. And of course, you decide whether you want it to say officiant or celebrant, depending on, so, Jen would want celebrant because that's the word they use there, officiant for North America, but you get to tell me, do you want officiant, do you want celebrant, do you want both? I recommend, choosing one or the other, at least for now. Sometimes it feels like officiant and celebrant are in a bit of a battle, and it'll all be settled in 5 years, what we say. But it is funny how interchangeable and somewhat confusing those 2 titles can be at this point. But that is what it looks like to be Unboring Wedding certified. You get this badge, you get listed on this site, your photo, where you are, and your website. And it's just another little boost of sending couples here and saying, look at this distinguished group that I am a part of. And I sent that, it's right here on my homepage for Unboring Wedding. It's in that top banner. You can see there is how it says certified officiants, if it's not cutting it off for you, in the top right. I will show you, if you'd like, the bookmark, my officiating services, the 5-part wedding website that I believe, those parts that I believe will help a couple move through the process and book you. You can see here how I briefly describe myself, who I am. The website package that is now going to be available in January follows this format. 3 descriptors with little paragraphs about me. I've got the inquire button, but of course people can come here and look at the package and pricing and decide. I only offer one package. I know a lot of officiants offer, like we've talked about on last week, the elopement package, the small ceremony package, the deluxe ceremony. I just have one big ol' honking package that people can purchase. So those are my prices all over New Brunswick based on where I am. My reviews, as I said, you post them, and I aggregate them from everywhere. I haven't done this in a while. See here how I have my different badges. I am a member of the IAPWO. I spoke at Wedding MBA, and this is where Wedding Wire aggregates all the reviews, and this badge updates in real time. It's pretty cool. And so I just go at the end of every season, I paste all the reviews here. There's probably 100 or something at this point. And so I think it's really good for couples to see that. And FAQs, as we discussed, that's one of the other primary components of a great celebrant or officiant website. Where I see a lot of laughing in your pictures. Do you tell a lot of jokes, Mark? I don't want people to get the impression that I'm a stand-up comic. That's why I say, no, it's all about your story. Are you aware that your fee is much higher than other officiants? I want people to know that I know that, and the reason for that is I do this full-time and I really care about their ceremony, whether or not you're full-time. You can just say, hey, do you want me running around doing 6 weekend weddings for like $200? Or do you want me to charge more and really care about you? So that's kind of my philosophy. How far will you travel, et cetera, et cetera? Just a few questions because we want to get couples to sit down with us for a coffee. And then, of course, the inquire now. And yeah, I have that banner saying, please, I'm fully booked. It's been so tough to constantly say no to people. So I put that banner across. And this is the anatomy of a really great inquiry page, as we discussed live last week. And I go through that painstakingly in the course and teach you how to build something just like this. Okay, so that is it. I realize I've been on here for a little while now. Some of you are still hanging in live. Nuptial blessings. Oh yes, just purchased the course. Awesome. I can't wait to work with you. And any questions at all? I should go scan up here. Hey Rob, good to see you. Tuning in from lovely Australia this morning. Well, happy Tuesday to you. Alex asks, what is the average price that I should charge, or is it just a donation? I have just been guessing. Okay, I'm wondering. So I have a training last week, I think on Thanksgiving. It's been such a blur this weekend. All about what to think about when you are starting out charging. So I encourage you. It's right. I think you're watching from YouTube. It's right there in my live videos. I did a full training on that. I can't give you a number, but I think you should charge the average price. So it's funny how I feel like the answer's in your question. What's the average price I should charge? I think you should start out charging the average in your market, not less than that, and then move it up from there. So for me, I have been increasing my prices by $100 every year. I was charging $900 in Toronto several years ago. Then I moved to New Brunswick and I had to scale it right back down. Again, I just follow my own training here. You're learning the system that I practiced. I looked at the going rate in the area and it is super low, like $300 or something, 400. So I started at 400 the first year, and I've been raising my prices every year. Now my average, as I just showed you, is about $1,000 to do a ceremony. And again, I just offer that one package, the full-blown deluxe package. I don't want a couple to not want a rehearsal. I don't want a couple to not want the story. That's just me. So watch that video if you haven't, Alex, because I have thought through and thought about what kind of ceremonies do I want to be officiating. I don't love the elopements. What kind of ceremonies do I want to officiate? Ones that have had a rehearsal. I just don't like the feeling the day of the ceremony when nobody knows how they're supposed to walk, how they're supposed to stand. It's so worth it the night before to meet everybody, have fun with them, iron out the kinks, the benefits of getting rehearsal far outweigh by a country mile any of the drawbacks of like, oh, the time or that kind of thing. So you decide on what's right for you. My short answer, Alex, is charge the average, not less, when you're just starting out in your area, and slowly scale up. When you are doing an unboring style ceremony, word spreads about you faster than anyone else. I can guarantee it. Most people don't even talk about the ceremony. They're just like, okay, it's a very nice ceremony, very lovely. When you tell the couple's story, they're like, that Alex guy, I think his name was, it was incredible, etc., etc. This is my experience personally, of course, which is why I'm booked solid next year already. But everybody who takes this course gets back and tells me everyone was blown away. So, hey, the results speak for themselves, and I absolutely love it. Just scrolling up here, making sure I didn't miss any questions. Oh, thanks for the kind words about the Academy course. I really appreciate that. I'm assuming Facebook user is the same person, but I'm not totally sure. I'm seeing a lot of Facebook user, and I have no idea if that's several people. I hope it's not. So, yeah, Alex, that's great. I'm just back down to the bottom here. Oh, just purchase pro. Awesome. That's awesome. Awesome job, Lee, if it's you / Facebook user. I know it's you every time you say Lee. I just don't know if there's other Facebook users. It's so generic. So that is really what I wanted to come on here and say to you today. Starting out can be tough, can be scary. Lee, you definitely want to try to get that first one under your belt if you don't yet. I mean, I believe you've got Unboring Wedding Academy, so I'm not sure if you're asking that as a theoretical question. Get that first ceremony in or two, and then ask for a review. Ask the photographer for a photo or two, and it really does start to steamroll. And of course, in the course, I talk about don't just sit around waiting for something to happen. You can make something happen with some strategies that I talk about in stage 6, including going to a wedding show. Yesterday, there was a videographer there that was really new, and she's just starting out. She had some business cards. She had some display of the kinds of videos that she could do. And she did take some footage and some wedding footage and worked with people on styled shoots and stuff like that. So, this is someone who I just really admire because they're not just sitting around waiting for the phone to ring. How do you get in front of couples? How do you showcase your skills and what you can do? Being proactive is the way to go about doing that. So in the course pro, I make it very clear the 7 things that you need in place. Hopefully that was clear from this training. And I also make every stage end with a challenge from what you learned. And sometimes, they fold back into each other. For example, you're not going to have your rack card finished at the end of stage 1. You're going to do the graphic work. And then in stage 2, learn how to write professionally in a marketing sort of way. When you're writing for business, everything you write for business is a form of marketing, especially if somebody's picking up your rack card with a whole array of other wedding vendor rack cards and promotional materials. You want yours to communicate in a really professional, clear way that makes a couple say, this person knows what I'm thinking. I want to work with them, etc., etc. Okay? Thank you for joining me live if you were able to do so. I'm going to take another sip of my decaf Earl Grey tea. And if you want to throw a question up here, I did send an email about this and say, ask many questions at all, from ceremonies to pro stuff to what the best show is on Netflix right now. But hey, if nobody's going to bring it up, I'm not going to bring it up. Don't forget my side note question above. Oh no, did I miss something, Lee? Let me scroll through. What are your recommendations for someone who never has? Okay, I think I covered that. Would you recommend doing your first one free? Oh, just to get a review. That's a tough question. I would say do it for free for somebody you know. Absolutely. Because most people who find their way to me are officiating for a friend or relative. So I think it would be cool if you took my training and started getting the word out in your own network. For friends and family, I think that's really okay. I don't think it's okay to go out there professionally and undercut yourself and other officiants. I mentioned on the live training earlier this week, like when you come on the scene and say, I'm here and I'm going to officiate everybody's wedding for $100, that is a great way to get some animosity build up among other officiants and celebrants in your community. So you don't want to do that. You can maybe like run a sale or something like that. Uh, Sometimes when you join a wedding show, they have a door prize. So that would be kind of neat if you joined a wedding show and said, my door prize, usually every vendor gets to offer a door prize. You could say, a free officiating service, and then you know someone is going to win that door prize. Now, whether or not they already got their uncle or their minister to officiate, that's the chance you take. But that might be a way to get one of those first weddings, and then I think it's okay because a door prize. When I do those, I typically knock some of the price down. But man, how thrilled would the wedding show, the people who put on the wedding show, and the couple who wins free officiating? They would be absolutely thrilled. So you can add that to your arsenal of ways to get those first few going. But I would say start with your network. Was that my side note was about how many side notes are there, Lee? This software that I just thought, so I woke up on Thursday, Thanksgiving Day, knowing I wanted everybody to find out about this incredible event this weekend. I said, what's the best way I can do that? I can go on Facebook Live. I can go on YouTube Live. Okay, I'll do two separate. And then I realized, wait a second, there must be a way to do this in one way. So I did discover this is a software called Restream. And right away, coincidentally, they had a Black Friday deal on Friday, which I snapped up 50% off for the next year to stream live like this to two platforms at once. So am I recommending Restream? The fact that I could learn it on the fly, I think this is going okay. Except for the whole time I was reading off of a tab that you couldn't see, but that's more me than them. It seems like a pretty great service. Thanks for going back. What's the best show on Netflix? I painted myself into a corner because I'm watching The Wheel of Time on Prime, being a big fan of Robert Jordan books. Man, I'm loving that show. I was really worried. You know when you love books or a story and then you're like, they're going to do the TV show and it's going to wreck it. It's so good so far, Wheel of Time on Prime. And let's see, I'm also watching Mythic Quest on Apple Plus, still not Netflix. We're watching the Hawkeye, of course, started on Disney Plus. No, that's still not Netflix. So was that false advertising? Netflix, I mean, I do have a few on the go, like Ozark, when I'm in the mood for something super dark. I haven't started season 2 yet. So I would say the show that has me most interested on the my playlist is probably Ozark. But my wife doesn't want to watch any of that dark stuff. So that stuff I need to watch on my own, the final season of Homeland, that kind of stuff. Anything that's like real life and tragic. My wife, who is a marriage and family therapist, a certified counselor, she just doesn't want to feel like she's at work. So that's why superheroes, it's super unrealistic, she says. Wheel of Time, she's a fantasy nerd, not realistic, but she doesn't want to watch something like Ozark where it just feels like a real family going through awful things. So yeah, cool. Okay, we're on the same page, Lee, for Wheel of Time and Hawkeye. Yeah, great. Okay, we can talk more about that in the future. Thanks for joining me today. I love doing this. That's why I got Restream. So like it or not, I'm going to be hitting the lives a lot more in 2022. To be honest, having built Unboring Wedding Academy all new this year, having built Unboring Wedding Pro, which is now my baby is live in the world, and mostly finishing the website package, which is going to be, many of you received it free for getting it on Friday, but also going to be for sale in January. I'm so excited to kind of get back to doing what I love, which is coming on here, interacting with folks, teaching and talking about ceremonies and officiating in business. That's what wakes me up in the morning. And I love doing that. I love doing this any day other than like building one of 36 pages for a course or something. So thanks for joining me. I missed your question. Thank you for saying that. I have a question. I did see I have a question and then you missed my question. I think that's probably why I missed it, because I just see, Oh, is there a significant difference that between a regular wedding ceremony and elopement as far as the steps in the first course? Is that the question? Is there a significant difference between a regular wedding ceremony and an elopement as far as the steps in the first course? It's funny you should ask that, because in terms of the preparing for the elopement, I would say there is not. Obviously, an elopement often, very often doesn't have the processional thing where, everybody's lined up at the back. An elopement is often, we're going to just go stand under a tree, obviously, and stuff like that. The few elopements that I have done, especially during COVID, where some of my couples who plan on a big wedding, they heartbrokenly cancel, but they said, Mark, will you still do it? Yes, I still do it. There's a lot of choice here, so it's hard to answer that cold. And here's what I mean. I'm just scrolling back to see if I missed your name, Happy Signing Notary. I believe you mentioned it last week because you're on here live again. So here's the short answer to that. I still ask every couple, because I'm in it to tell the story. I love it. So I still ask every couple, even if they're getting eloped, do you want me to tell your story? Now, some of them say, no, that's not necessary. Some of them say, yeah, that would really be great. The only difference is, as I teach in Unboring Wedding Academy, you are talking to the guest for most of the ceremony. The couple is standing in front of you and you're telling their story, and they happen to be standing right in front of you. And that's what generates, that's the secret sauce, folks. A lot of people wonder, what is it about the Unboring style and system that is so much better than other ceremonies? It's because you're talking to the guests. It's a lot of people don't even realize that. I think the people at the wedding don't even realize that. They're wondering, why was that so good? Most wedding ceremonies, the officiant is acting like they're not even there. They're just talking to the couple. Well, the style that we do is we talk to the guests the whole time about the couple, and that generates so much feeling. So here's what I change if the couple says, yes, can you still tell our story? I just switch it to you. And I did this just a few weeks ago. Couple found me. They wanted to get married in a little old courthouse museum up on the coast of New Brunswick. So I met them there with a photographer. We had a great little time. It wasn't a big crowd for me to talk to, so I missed that part. But I told their sweet romantic story, and I said, you'll remember, Rob, this all started when you, blah, 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 and then you, Cynthia, et cetera, and Rob, you, and Cynthia, you. And it ended up being kind of retelling their story back to me, and they did take the time to send me their answers, so they knew what I was going to say. So that is a case where the process didn't look any different. I sat down with them and said, how do you want this to go? There are so many logistics to work out. My book, this whole book, Wedding Zero to Ceremony Hero, if you've picked it up, it's just stage one of Unboring Wedding Academy. That's 120 pages, just stage one of Unboring Wedding Academy. The planning, the workshop part. That's it. And so I still say, sit down with your elopement couple. Obviously, the deluxe ceremony has the processional, but you still want to ask them, is anybody walking you down the aisle? And I want to make sure you're standing in front of me holding hands. And if you have flowers in your hand, what are you going to do with those? And for an elopement, are you going to walk into music? Are you going to just be together the whole time and say, let's gather, let's go stand under this tree? Or do you want to go get dressed as she did in this courthouse? He was standing there with me, nervous as heck. I started the song on their phone, which was plugged into a Bluetooth speaker. And I like to step back during the processional anyway, step away. So he was standing there crying when she came around the corner, just the two of them. And Shannon May, my photographer colleague, snapping away. So it still required that kind of intense workshop planning session for me to figure out, what are you going to do for music? And again, most couples have no idea about this stuff. So you can't assume you're just having an elopement. Well, you probably know the things. They probably know nothing, is what I would guarantee. So when you hit them with the spreadsheet from Unboring Wedding Academy, they are so grateful, even though it's a little elopement. Maybe most of the ceremony is you're standing in front of me, but still, how do you want to say your vows? How do you want to exchange the rings? How are we going to wrap up the ceremony? We going to do the signing right there? Of course, you don't present them at the end as husband and wife or anything like that. So that is a little bit different, where you pronounce them and they kiss, and then of course we go sign, and that's probably the end of the ceremony. But then they want to talk about, what do we do after just the five of us? They brought some cupcakes, they brought some champagne, we drank it together, So the same level of planning is involved in an elopement. And I charged the same amount for that little elopement as I do for a full-blown ceremony, which, goes back to what we talked about last Thursday on the live, which is you can offer elopements from Monday to Thursday if you'd like. But at a certain point, especially if you're adding the story and you realize it takes just as much planning, just as much driving, the one thing that it doesn't require is a rehearsal. So if you think, okay, if I were to put a price on my rehearsal, take it down $150 or something, then maybe I can offer my elopement package $150 less. So that's the kind of stuff that you need to think through. So the short answer is that there isn't much difference, unless the couple, it will look different because there's no people. But in terms of your time, if they say, we want the story and all that stuff, and even if they want to stay with you and hang out later, that's another thing. Is in a ceremony, I usually just, go find them, give them a hug. They're surrounded with friends and family. There's photos, and I head for the exit, and I'm not missed. You can't really do that for an elopement. You'll come off like a real jerk. Well, boom, job's done. See you later. Like I said, they wanted to stand around, have a drink and cupcakes. And I was, talking to them for their photos. And it was a great time. But when you're thinking of time on site, it doesn't end up being all that different. The only thing that's technically different, I believe, is the rehearsal piece. Was that a long-winded answer, or what? Do I ever do any other kind? Alicia, I hope that was helpful. Rob says, awesome. Oh my gosh, this is great. Your first two weddings came from other songs. Oh man, that's amazing. See, and that's why I said, Rob, to your point, you don't want to come on the scene pissing off other officiants and celebrants right off the bat. The opposite thing happened to me in New Brunswick, to be honest. There were no officiants or celebrants who really acted like they cared about the ceremony at all. And so the existing officiants and celebrants weren't that enthused to see me, to be honest, when I came on and was like creating these incredible experiences, and all of a sudden every vendor was recommending me. Hey, I mean, what do I say? Them's the breaks. I mean, couples are going crazy wanting this kind of experience, and nobody was providing it. So everyone was comfortable in sort of complacency. And so that is what happens when you offer an incredible experience and service. But Rob, what you don't want to do is come in and say, I'm undercutting everybody, I'm super cheap, that kind of thing. You want to get positive regard as best you can. So well done, Rob. I'm so glad to hear that you got 5-star reviews and positive regard and things like that. Okay. So for elopements, I use, what do you love? Yes, that's another. I'm so glad you mentioned that, Lee. If they don't want the story, at the very least, what do you love about each other? And yeah, absolutely. If you include nothing else, that's the very minimum that makes it. And sometimes I ask them for the email addresses of friends and family too. Sometimes they're eloping in secret, but sometimes friends and family know it. And so I just say, hey, would you include a nice message that I can read to them about them, what makes them so great? So, that 5-fold formula that we send out, that we read out, in Unboring Wedding, the 3, how did you meet? What was the first date? What was the proposal? The love about section, what they love about each other and what friends and family love about them. If you don't do the story, keep those last 2. And it's really, really powerful stuff still. Okay, I'm just scrolling down for messages here. Oh, that was Tia. See, there's more than one Facebook user. I wish your names were coming through. I'm wondering about that. That's really strange. AJ, yeah, we were emailing back and forth. You say you like live now, eh? Yeah, I've always loved live. It's just a matter of like having the time and bandwidth literally to do it. So I'm hardwired into the best internet now. I do like to stream simultaneously, that kind of thing. All right. If there's no other questions, I'm going to sign off now. It's been about an hour. Thanks to those of you who intermittently joined. There will be a replay if you want to take in any of this again. And I just want to remind you that Unboring Wedding Pro is half off just for the rest of the day. It ends at 9 p.m. Eastern today. If you don't have Academy yet, you can get both courses for $397. Because if you want Pro, you need Academy. I'm only offering it to folks who are already have the ceremony training. And again, I've said it many times, but I'll repeat it here. I do that because if you don't have the ceremony part totally nailed and you're already at the top level quality with ceremony, you'll struggle. You'll be kind of middle, bottom of the pack like everybody else, which is why I think when you get in front of even your first ceremony and you crush it Unboring Wedding style, you're off. You're out of the gate. You have a huge head start. And then the pro stuff, if you follow the 6 stages and get your 7 things in place for that, then you are good to go. Okay, that is it. Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Grab the courses if you haven't yet by 9 p.m. Eastern, and I'll see you inside that training. You'll see me here on again, but after this very busy weekend and launching Pro, I'm just going to kind of close the doors on that for a little while, make sure everybody's situated and in good shape, get the website package for January, and move on from there. If you wanted to ask a question but didn't want to ask it live, feel free to send me an email. Of course, I'm still on my email today. All right, have a great day. Thanks for joining me. Marry on. Have a good one.